Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Day 2 of the Pennsylvania Medical Group Management Association's Healthcare Leaders Virtual Summit. Thanks again for joining us today. My name is Shelley Ryan, and on behalf of the Board of Directors, I'm so glad to see all of you again this morning. I'm going to warn you, our speaker this morning is going to expect a lot out of us, so get your coffee ready. She is a former teacher, she wants our cameras on, and she is going to want us to use those reaction buttons down at the bottom of our Zoom screens, so make sure you know where they are. She wants lots of audience participation, so be on your toes. Angela Hummel is the co-founder of Radiant and Resilient Leadership, LLC, where she is a coach and consultant for the company based in Central Pennsylvania. The leadership and talent development consultancy focuses on serving healthcare providers and bringing care back to the caring profession. Combining their many years of clinical and administrative experience in healthcare, the co-owners specialize in creating excellent patient and employee experiences by applying evidence-based research into practice and leadership. Angela is a certified professional in learning and performance and a senior certified professional in human resources and holds many other certifications in business management, human resources, and talent development. She is heavily invested in the growth and development of the greater Susquehanna Valley and has held several leadership roles in the community there. She works and speaks throughout Pennsylvania and across the region, and we are pleased to have her with us today. Please help me welcome Angela Hummel.
Thank you so much for the great introduction, Shelley. I appreciate it. Gosh, we've known each other for quite a few years now, don't we? Yeah. All right, well, I'm looking at a screen and it only has names on it, Shelley. And I don't know about you, but it is hard to get up in the morning. And today I actually put like dress pants on and not, comfy pants. I have earrings and I'm an okay hair day today. So can I see your smiling faces? It's so much better. There, thank you. There's Erin who's playing along. Kim, thank you. All right, get ready because we're gonna have some fun. I'll talk to names, but it's so much better for me to see your faces. So there are always reasons why bad hair days are not an acceptable reason, but I understand if you cannot put your camera on, but I so much prefer it. So welcome to our learning session. Let's spend our time together learning about what we like to call healthcare's perfect storm. We're going to explore our legacy in leadership and the existing state of employee engagement. And we have a sun in our logo. My partner, Kim Delbo, is unfortunately unable to connect today with us, but I'm going to cover for her. I love the synergy with her. She is working on her doctorate in as a nurse practitioner and is a nurse educator. So she has some classes today that she needs to take care of. But we have a sun in our logo because we believe that the antidote, the reason, the solution to employee engagement actually comes through leadership. So let's explore that topic today. What a privilege, though, that you have in working in healthcare. I don't know if you think about it as a privilege, even during this perfect storm, but in no other industry do we have the opportunity to share with others in their time of need or time of healing. You serve in a role, no matter what your title, to minimize human suffering and share time with others in a sacred space. You make a difference because you have chosen the healthcare profession, or perhaps it's chosen you. You see, we can work in healthcare or we can be a leader in healthcare, in our organizations and on our team. So this 45-minute session, and we're going to try to wrap it up in 45 minutes, a little shorter, because your discussion is going to continue in your leader-to-leader conversations later. But in our 45-minute session, I'm hoping for interactivity. So I want you to chat. I'd love to see some reactions. So if you don't know where your reaction bar is, go to your Zoom taskbar, look for more. click on reactions. It should open up a box or an option with some icons. So go ahead and practice that right now. Let's see, I'm feeling like I need hearts. Give me hearts. Give me heart symbols. Who can give me those? All right, I see that. Thanks, Angie, Marie, Nicole. Everybody else is either finding them or just not so happy in love this morning. All right, got you. All right, most of you were able to find those reaction tools. I really enjoy the back channel chat. I try to monitor it, and I give huge kudos out to Erin, who will help monitor chat for us. So feel free if you're having any question, any challenges, or you want to post any questions there, I will monitor chat as well. Hey guys, this is my life. I do virtual instruction and speaking. This is what I do. So I'm loving this opportunity, and I'm going to put you to the test today. I can't get cameras on yet, but look out, here we go. All right, so in our time together, here are the objectives. So I'm just going to advance my slide, thumbs up this way or on the reaction tool if you can see my slides now that say session objectives. We've got a thumbs up. All right, David, hey, you're awake. There we go, Nicole, Patty, thanks for letting me know that. All right, so we are going to discuss leading and engaging employees in the present and post-pandemic work environment. We're going to explore the state of employee engagement and how it impacts staffing, recruiting, and retention. And we're going to look at some strategies, some things that we think medical practice and healthcare professionals can do to ensure success during these challenging and turbulent times. So, sound like a plan? All right, I like a roadmap. So here's where we're going. Let's get started. All right, so when we look at, and Kim and I started this work pre-pandemic. So we founded our company to bring care back to caring. So we want to serve those who are caring for others. And we founded the company prior to the pandemic. So we were thinking about this perfect storm long before we were hit by COVID. So absolutely, the conversation then and now is still around things like an aging population, nurse and provider burnout, nurse and provider shortages. Gosh, you know what this list is. You created this list, right? You're living in this list. We're looking at shrinking reimbursements, employee retirements. We're looking at that very publicly reported data, high turnover, lower levels of engagement. And we're going to take a closer look at what that means and what we can do about it. And then also increased technology integration. I heard somebody earlier talk about a software upgrade or update, and certainly the shift to value-based care. And then, of course, we know we're living in the midst of this global pandemic, and I can't wait till we're through it, but we're still in the thick of it. I know you are. So I looked at some statistics. So I grabbed some of the MGMA data that I could find, and get ready for some reaction tools here, because I want to kind of poll you a little bit, not an official poll, Erin, so don't worry about that, just a reaction poll. So in this survey, 46% of healthcare leaders have invested in their own leadership and resiliency training in the past year. So give me a thumbs up if you're one of those 46%. Thumbs up if you're one of those 46%. So in the past year, you've invested in your own leadership and resiliency training. All right, I'm seeing a few thumbs up. Let's look at some more data. So more than 2 in 5 healthcare leaders report that none of their workforce works remotely at least 50% of the time. So you, again, I know and realize you're in the thick of it. So I just had my next event move to virtual. Most of my work is done at home. Very few clients right now that I have, currently are in person, but you are on the front lines of this, right? So more than 2 in 5 healthcare leaders report none of their workforce works remotely. And then, because everybody's talking about work from home and hybrid workplaces, but you definitely have a high number of folks who are in the office, right, in the thick of it. And then this statistic, 45% of healthcare leaders report their organization provides leadership coaching and mentoring to clinicians. So coaching and leadership is so important at this time. I just wanted to see, give me, let's see, I'll do a round of applause this way or virtually. You'll see the hands clapping. Give me a round of applause if you're one of the 45% who are doing the leadership coaching and mentoring to clinicians. Any rounds of applause? Okay, David, thank you for sharing that. Again, leadership is going to be so important as we navigate through this engagement challenge that we have. And then another statistic that I pulled, 73% of medical practices rank staffing as their biggest pandemic challenge heading into 2022. So thumbs up if you're one of those 73% who agree that that is your biggest challenge. Ooh, I'm seeing lots of thumbs up coming up on the screen. Absolutely. Yeah, almost unanimously, that seems to be one of the biggest challenges. And I got to tell you, I have clients. This is one of my businesses. So this is my healthcare line of business that I work, but most of my clients are having the same challenge. Staffing seems to be one of their biggest issues all the way around. I guess we're all in this together. But let's look at the state of employee engagement. And where I go for that, particularly if I don't have data about engagement for a client, I go to Gallup. And that's a resource that you can go to and access as well. So Gallup has found that substantial differences in intentions to change employers as a function of the quality of the work environment. So everybody's calling this like the great resignation or the turnover tsunami. That what we're finding is that people have, looked at their role and their quality of life and their work-life balance, whatever that is, and they're saying, hey, I'm thinking about changing. So some researchers are saying that this is actually just getting started. So we haven't seen the end of this great resignation. And Gallup also says among actively disengaged workers. So another name for the actively disengaged would be I quit but forgot to tell you. So I'm still working here, but I'm totally checked out. I'm retired on the job. I'm completely burnt out and past it. But those actively disengaged workers in 2021, 74% are either actively looking for new employment or they're watching for openings. And in some cases, the actively disengaged are the ones that you want to leave. This compares with 50% of non-engaged employees and 30% of engaged employees. So a lot of people are looking. A lot of people are thinking about making a change. And many factors contribute to job changes, including opportunities in the job market. So there are opportunities. I mean, there's a wage war happening right now. Everybody's moving their bottom wage up and we're all competing for those entry-level positions. Employees may be more aware after having time to contemplate their work and life in 2020. And engaged employees sometimes change jobs too, thankfully at a much lower rate than not engaged or actively disengaged. But we can't really forget about those folks that we want to stay. They're still probably thinking about changing roles. So we have a tsunami, if you want to call it. We have a challenge in front of us for sure. The healthcare workforce infrastructure, nearly 30% of healthcare's workers altogether, all in, are considering leaving the profession. That's where coaching can come in. I think that can really help when people make a big decision like that. Sometimes they need a thinking partner to see if that's really the right choice. Nearly 60% reported impacts to their mental health stemming from their work during COVID. And a daunting challenge of sustaining the healthcare workforce predates COVID-19 pandemic, right? And you'll hear Kim say, Kim's a nurse educator now. She returned to that part of her career. She was doing long-term care for quite a while as a director of nursing, but you'll hear her say, oh, don't pretend that all of this is just COVID related. We were talking about this stuff long before the pandemic. So the need to hire at least 200,000 nurses per year to meet the increased demand and to replace retiring nurses. Again, we knew this pre-pandemic, but here we are in the middle of it. And we probably didn't do enough when we knew about the issue up front. Just as you don't have enough staggering statistics, let me give you just a few more. So the nursing and allied professional workforce also faces critical shortages, which I know you realize. Faculty shortages constrain ability to meet future nursing demands. We just don't have enough nurse educators. We don't have enough educators, enough faculty members to meet that demand. America's behavioral health needs are reaching a crisis point, rising amid gaps in the behavioral health workforce. And then, of course, rising clinician burnout, accelerated by the pandemic, calls for a national support. And that's data coming from the American Hospital Association report in May. And I know that you know this, but we've got to kind of get real and get down to it, so we know what we can do about it and what are some of the solutions. So when we look at addressing burnout, you'll see I have some arrows here on my page. With this perfect storm in place and these staggering statistics that we just reviewed and that you're living, it's likely that your staff and even maybe you are at a burnout level. So how do we address burnout? Dr. Stephen Beeson, who's an author, speaker, and physician, recently did a presentation in which he talked about the fact that a sense of collegiality, community, and belonging are the most powerful countermeasures to burnout. So you can see that arrow's going up, right? So what's a countermeasure? When we are kind, when we have a spirit of teamwork and community, when we have a sense of belonging, those are all antidotes, or those are all countermeasures to burnout. And then also being a part of a collaborative team is an antidote to burnout. So he clearly explained how the best antidote to the exhaustion, cynicism, and disconnection, those would be the arrows going down, that can come from burnout is really part of this, being a part of a team. And we think, especially at Radiant Resilient Leadership, that leadership is the solution. So if I'm an effective leader and I'm engaging my team, I'm creating a sense of belonging and community, then that is one of the strongest solutions to burnout. And I know you're probably thinking, well, what do you do with the people who are already burned out, the leaders who are already burned out? We just don't have any more to give. I promise what we're going to talk about today are things that you can do without spending a lot of time or a lot of money. I made sure that when I put this presentation together, that I wasn't going to give you an extra burden, because you're already carrying the weight of your medical practice on your shoulders. So we're going to look at some practical, easy to apply strategies to help you with this leadership and the countermeasures. So I want you to think about a time. And we don't do this often, so I hope those of you that are not on your camera are really giving yourself a gift of learning. So we're not going to be together for very long. We're going to try to wrap up at 9:45, but goodness, just breathe for a moment. Give yourself, let that email go. The place will not fall apart in the next half hour. But I want you to envision, I want you to think about, bring to mind, think about a time that you've personally experienced effective leadership in any aspect of your life, personal, past, school, doesn't matter. And I want you to think of one characteristic or word that comes to mind about the leader that was effective. So go ahead and type in the chat some of the words that would describe, one word or two, what makes an effective leader. So let's envision that. Let's chat about it. I see chat lighting up here. Erin's going to monitor that for us, and she's going to give us some of the answers as I keep sort of talking about this. But again, we want to bring to mind what an effective leader looks like. And in times of crisis and in times of challenge, we're not always at our best. So Erin, what are they saying?
Respectful, understanding, open-minded, engaged, consistent, a good listener, focused, great communicator, invested in me, understanding and allowing you to grow through mistakes without making you feel worse, availability, empathy, accommodating, authentic, ability to listen and understand, not just reply.
Okay, listen, understand, not just reply. Awesome. All phenomenal qualities of leaders, right? Those things that we aspire to, those things that have impacted us positively. And I'll just go back on the slide, right? If we do those things, if we represent good listening and being a good communicator and listening to not to respond, listening actively, all of those things are going to create those feelings of community and belonging and teamwork and treating each other, with respect. All of those things is, those are all the things that we want to provide in our own leadership. So there are many different definitions of leadership. Actually, at one point I had done some research and I looked for like how many different definitions. There are probably as many definitions of leadership as there are leaders. So seriously, there are probably over 200 or more working definitions of leadership. For simplicity purposes, we like John Maxwell's definition of leadership. John's a leadership speaker and author of many books. And the definition is simple. It's easy to remember. Leadership is influence, nothing more and nothing less. We think it fits nicely with your own personal leadership. So you likely have a title that includes being a leader of people. And the definition can be used for all titles, though, in any organization. And think about it. You are influencing those around you every day. The question is, are you influencing them positively or negatively? So while we're thinking about influencing others, let's go ahead and look at some formal definitions or leadership characteristics. So you've said all of these or more. So leaders are people who have and share a vision, they pursue excellence, they're trustworthy, they communicate. I think they got all of them in the chat, Erin. They're enthusiastic, they serve others. And again, leadership is the answer to these engagement challenges, and burnout is not the only answer, but it's one of the biggest solutions that we have. So at Radiant and Resilient Leadership, we believe that a new type of leader needs to rise up to face the challenges of healthcare and engage employees in the present and post-pandemic work environment. In fact, this is how we started our company. We feel like the healthcare system's broken, and it's going to take a new type of leader, a new type of leadership to transform our system. And we need to move beyond traditional leadership styles and embrace new and emerging models. So if you engage with us in any of our work, you're going to find that we are training people on moving past those traditional leadership styles, and we're working on transformational leadership. We're working on quantum leadership and other forms of leadership that just go against those command and control traditional styles that we might be accustomed to. And every time I ask a question like this, people will not share, they're not likely to share that they feel that they might be a traditional leader or command and control leader. And sometimes that style works, particularly during a crisis when we have to, get everybody together and get a solution, but it's not for a long-term sustaining through a crisis, even a pandemic. Nobody wants to admit that traditional leadership is their style. However, I still get the calls repeatedly, continually, of people who are working for traditional leaders. Command and control leaders are still out there. Hopefully not any of you, but let's make sure we understand what we mean. Because when we want to move beyond, when we want to engage and address burnout, we need to be looking at a different model for leadership. So here are some of the newest models of leadership. I think leaders are learners. So if these are new for you, you haven't heard them, I highly encourage you to do some research, do some reading, pick up a book on any of these topics. If you need book recommendations, shoot me an email. It's ahummel@rnrleadership.com. I'll provide that to you later as well. I have a slide with my contact information, but if you want a reading list or a suggestion, even if you read for 5 minutes every evening, something around these new types of leaders. So these are more contemporary leadership styles, and they're focused on complex relational and social models rather than the individual leader with the focus on command and control. Particularly during times of chaos, uncertainty, and unprecedented change, the times we're living in right now, there's a need for a new type of leader and leadership. So I'm just going to touch the surface on these. I want to at least whet your appetite to them. We're not going to go into them in detail, but transformational leaders, this is the most common probably of maybe authentic leadership. People are talking about, a lot written about, but transformational leaders would include a process for motivating followers that believe in similar internal values directed towards the greater good. And it has an emphasis on leaders and followers enjoying a close bond. And transformational leaders can create adaptable, innovative teams that thrive in the midst of change. Then authentic leadership, authenticity. Brene Brown would be a person, author in this space. But authentic leaders usually have a strong component of good communication skills. They have a high level of self-awareness and understanding of each individual's strengths. So what are the strengths of the players on your team? And then also authentic leaders are often marked with relational transparency that includes a two-way honest communication. So authenticity, genuine, being real. Then adaptive leadership, this style really could be summarized as the practice of mobilizing people to tackle tough challenges and thrive. And this model is key in light of the current paradigm shift of chaos and disequilibrium and change that we're seeing in healthcare. This model outlines the role of the leader as someone who engages followers in solving the organization's problems, not the leader solving them, but the leader engaging the employees, the followers, in solving the organization's problems. And this can be very useful in times of chaos, ambiguity, and rapid change. Innovative leaders embody a practical creativity and make new ideas useful to solve problems. They make things better while creating new opportunities. And innovative leaders are often characterized by an excellent strategic vision, a strong customer focus, a strong trust of customers and to customers. They have a fierce organizational loyalty and faith in the organization, and they are very good at goal setting as well. So healthcare workers and teams today must become more comfortable with chaos and disequilibrium and adopt a new perspective on change. And that's what quantum leadership is about. Quantum leadership provides a new holistic view of leadership. It actually finds growth in chaos. It looks at chaos as a good thing that can lead to innovative ideas and leading change. And again, at Radiant and Resilient Leadership, we like to say that a new type of leader needs to rise up. So if you learned how to lead from somebody who was practicing for 20 years or more, there are some good qualities that come with that, but you probably learned from somebody who was practicing command and control leadership. So take a look at some of these models. So leaders, are you going to stand with us and rise up to the challenge? Because the challenge is here, and it's our chance to make a shift in our leadership to meet the demands of the present and post-pandemic workplace. We also have to know, and I remember in my years in healthcare, almost 14 years spent in healthcare, I remember when I would visit a medical practice, I saw a lot of operational conversations happening. If I'd listen into a team meeting, there was always something about efficiency and effectiveness and operations. And all of that is important. Gosh, you have to have a lot of focus on management. But what we want to talk about here briefly is there's a difference between a management skill set and a leadership skill set. We try to tease them out. We try to separate them. I've even tried to do it on this screen or the two screens that are coming up here, where we say, this is what a manager does and this is what a leader does. And in reality, it's pretty fluid. So throughout the day, throughout a work shift, throughout it in an hour's time, you might be managing and leading all at the same time. You might have to put a management hat on at one point and then put a leadership hat on after it. But what we want to look at is that most of the command and control stuff that we know falls under management, and we need it. We need to have both. But in the current and future state, so pre-post pandemic, we need more leadership than we need management. So management is someone who's appointed to the position by someone higher in an hierarchy. It's power rises from somebody's authority. Goals are espoused or prescribed by the organization. Innovative ideas are allowed, provided they don't interfere with the task accomplishment, but they're not necessarily encouraged. And there's low risk and balance, maintaining the status quo. On the other side, leadership, the position is selected or allowed by a group of followers, right? So you can be a leader no matter if you have the title or not. Power comes from knowledge, credibility, and the ability to motivate others. Goals arise from personal interest and passion, and innovative ideas are developed, tested, and encouraged among all members of the group. And there's high risk creativity and innovation happening under leadership. And then also, you'll see on the right-hand side, more management characteristics. I'll point out a few. Focus on systems and structure. Perspective is short range with an eye on the bottom line. On the other side, leadership, there is a nature of activities are related to vision, focus on the people. There's more of a long range perspective, and there's a degree of freedom. It's not limited to the organizational position or authority. And I think one of the biggest things that I've learned in my work with my clients is that people forget that when you need to come up with a solution, you should ask the people who are actually doing the work, right? Instead of just as the leader coming up with the solution on your own. So that would be more of a leadership behavior, participation and involvement by employees and your followers. So just to see if you're still paying attention and see if you're going to be honest with me, let's do a poll. Do you think that you show more leadership or more management? Again, they're both important, but which would you pick? Do you show more leadership or more management? So Aaron's put up the poll for us. You could answer that for me. Ah, hey, Aaron, you're an awesome producer among all the other jobs that you do. All right, we have more leaders on the call than we have management, so that's awesome. It's good to know that, and I believe that. I don't want to challenge you on that, but I think sometimes people forget just how important leadership qualities are. So you might remember, and I'm getting to the solutions, and I may not finish all of them by 9:45, which is when I need to move to wrap up. Again, this is a shorter session. Your conversations can continue in your leader-to-leader conversations, and I think your next session or two. But you might remember Quint Studer. You'll see his name on the screen. So as I was researching, what are some of those practical strategies that I can provide to you that you could implement today, tomorrow, whenever you return to your office? I looked and found Quint Studer. If you remember him, he worked at the Studer Group. He actually served as a role model for hundreds of CEOs and other administrative leaders around the country. And in 2015, he sold the Studer Group. I never knew what happened to him. He actually decided to focus on channeling his passion for leadership into community development, and he's in the town of Pensacola, Florida. And I found these strategies that I'm going to share with you that are on the screen in a Pensacola News Journal article. Not getting a big splash anywhere like Becker's, healthcare review or anything like that. But in my research, I thought, this is it. This is it, Quint. I've looked to you as a leader across my career. I remember he would say things like, what you permit, you promote. He had some really great strategies. But this is it. This is what I think we can do. So I'm going to run through them with you, and then you'll get a copy of the slides as well after the session. So if I don't cover all of them, you'll have the resources of where this data is as well. So modeling healthy behavior. Oh gosh, let's start there. So let's think about that oxygen mask. You fly on a plane, they're going to tell you to put the oxygen mask on yourself first, right? Before anybody else, including your child who might be sitting next to you. Now, why is that? Somebody chat with me or come on your mic. I can handle either one. Why do they tell us that? Gosh, wouldn't we want to help somebody who's elderly or maybe our child put their mask on first? Why do they tell us to put the mask on ourselves first? Let's see if chat will light up for me with an answer. Oh, I see it. What are they telling me, Aaron? Did you see anything come
Sorry,
through?
couldn't unmute myself fast enough. The ability to save others by saving ourselves. So we are not compromised and can help others.
Absolutely. So we need to take care of ourselves before we can take care of others. And gosh darn it, we forget about that. I know I myself spent about 5 years in a vice president of HR role. I know what happened in that role. I know how important your roles are, and the fact that I was not taking care of myself. I was not putting the oxygen mask on me first. So we need to make sure we're taking our vacations. We need to not work these extreme hours. We need to get help if we need it. We need to look for the support, ask for support. Some or all of this advice may go against the grain for many of you, but that not only shows how deeply embedded these expectations are. So we got to change that. I'm telling you, that's what people are frustrated with when they think about going to another role. These expectations need to stop. So we need to play a fundamental role in making the shift. And here, leadership is an inside job. So if we expect it of others, we need to do it ourselves. Quinn Studer also reminds us that we need to make a practice of looking at what's right. So instead of only looking at what's wrong or gloom and doom, we need to showcase legacy moments, which are those times in which an employee made a difference in someone's life. We need to make sure that we connect people back to the sense of meaning, to that sense of caring that space that they're in, minimizing suffering, helping people during their worst times and times of healing. And again, we tend to look at what's wrong by default. It's just how we are wired. It's who we are as humans. Then he also shares with us how we need to reward and recognize people where they are. So give me a thumbs up if you've ever heard the saying, what gets permitted gets promoted. What gets permitted gets promoted. Thumbs up if you've heard that. Yeah, I mentioned that Quinn Studer taught me that a long time ago in my career, but let's talk about what that means. A few of you have heard it. Thanks for the thumbs up. So behavior that gets rewarded and recognized gets repeated. Simple sentence, but powerful. Behavior that gets rewarded and recognized gets repeated. So not only does it lead to great results, it replenishes emotional bank accounts, it builds strong relationships between leaders and staff, and it creates the kind of culture where talent wants to be. You want to be a practice where talent wants to be. And one of the ways to do that is to reward and recognize behavior that's positive so that it gets repeated. We also need to focus on gratitude. At times, we all want to change what's happening around us, and most of the time we can't. Biggest lesson that you can teach a child, learn in your life if you haven't learned already, is that you can only control your own behavior. You cannot control the behavior of others, and you need to focus on your area of influence, what you can influence, and be concerned about everything else, but zero in on those things that you can influence. Because that's a shift in perspective. So we can see the world from a place of gratitude, and that leaves little room for focusing on the things that weigh us down and make us miserable. So here's something that I had to learn in my career as well, and I think applies perfectly here. Do you approach your day with get to or have to? I learned this from author John Gordon in the book, The Energy Bus, but it's something that I've applied for many years now. Thumbs up, Angie, you've got it. So get to or have to, and what do we mean by that? When you get up in the morning, do you focus on what you have to do? I have to go to work. I have to go to the booster club meeting after school, if they're still having them. I have to go to. Or do you say things like, I get to go to work. I get to go to the booster club meeting because my son's a senior and he'll soon be out of the house. I get to helps us find solutions to a challenge that we're having instead of have to. It's a completely different mind shift. And another question is, do you feel stressed or do you feel blessed? But you can't because you can't be stressed and thankful at the same time. So we need to make some time and space for gratitude. We also need to make some time to recognize small wins and daily progress. So give me a thumbs up if you feel like you're on a hamster wheel. Thumbs up if you think you're on a hamster wheel. Do you feel like you're just, you know, that feeling that you get when you feel like nothing you do matters? Yeah. Well, I got a thumbs down on that one. I guess, Nicole, that you're not feeling like you're on a hamster wheel. That's good. We want to come work with you. Because one way to get off the hamster wheel and help your staff do the same is to recognize small wins and daily progress. So we need to find and celebrate small wins that help interact that hamster wheel feeling that like we're doing nothing. It feels like we're doing nothing, nothing matters. Because studies show that you don't need big accomplishments to feel good about your work. I don't know about you, but I think the most average person doesn't expect, you know, a red carpet when they come into work or balloons to fall from the ceiling, right? What they really want is that sense of daily progress, and for you as their leader to call it out and mention it. You mentioned good communication as one of the qualities of a good leader. It is absolutely vital. It actually helps build resiliency because it helps people manage change and apply what they learn in future times of hardship. Communication is always important, but in a time of uncertainty like now and rapid change, it's absolutely vital. When you provide frequent, transparent, multi-pronged communication, it not only helps you manage change, it reduces anxiety, builds trust, and keeps people engaged, which is, of course, the major antidote for burnout. And then I have just a few more here just to review. I'm looking at my time and I'm still good, so I'm going to wrap it up in just a few moments. But one other thing to think about here is stories. Stories connect to the heartstrings. So when you are able to show employees that their work makes a real difference, stories help connect people back to the meaning, their purpose, and their passion. They're great teaching tools. And when we connect a story to a behavior that you expect and the one that you want to reward, we inspire employees to do more of that behavior. So think about how you can connect with employees on a more emotional level. And then a quick poll, we'll do this as sort of our wrap up, but which one of those examples, those strategies that, again, I don't think cost really any money and you can quickly apply, which one of those do you think would make the most difference in your organization? So if we started, which one of these would be most important to your organization? So a poll is there for you. Would it be modeling healthy behavior? Would it be making a practice for looking at what's right, rewarding and recognizing, encouraging a culture of gratitude, recognizing those small wins? Would it be leveraging good communication, storytelling? I'm gonna look for Erin to put the poll results up here in a few moments.
This is a test of how fast people read too.
I know, it was a long one. It
was.
I put Zoom to the test. Actually, when I sent it, didn't know if it could handle this many responses.
Me neither. I was testing it. They're almost there. They're reading and they're answering.
You're doing fine. You're doing fine. Anxious to see which ones they think might be most important. So if we did this, if we started tomorrow and we started to do this, I think it would make the biggest difference. Got a nice spread, but definitely encouraging a culture of gratitude. And recognizing small wins and daily progress seems to get the highest number of votes. But again, I tried to be as practical as possible in putting this together so that you could get strategies that you can use right away. Some key questions that I think you need to ask yourself and then ask your team. So what's changed for me since the COVID-19 outbreak? What was I doing when I felt at my best recently? Think about how you can do more of what led you to excellence, and what do you need to create a sense of trust, compassion, stability, and hope? You need to ask your team those same questions. We need to do some deep inner work here, leaders. We need to make sure we're self-aware, and we need to bring care back to caring. I know that you're on the front lines of this. I thank you for that. I can tell you that there have been moments in my building this business. I started in 2019 where I thought, wow, I'm glad I'm not in healthcare directly any longer, because it has been rough on all of you. I'll give you a closing quote. The most powerful energy in the universe, and thus in human beings and in organizations, is caring. It starts with the profound recognition of the impact our words and actions have on the lives we have the privilege to touch. And every organization should be an instrument of service to humanity, a vehicle for human beings to experience and practice true caring. So your questions are going to move over to your leader to leader conversations. So I'm going to jump off here very shortly. I'll just let you know, this is a way that you can connect with Kim and I. We're offering a new retreat format. Here's my contact information and Kim's as well. You'll see my email at the bottom of the screen if you want that reading list or suggested reading list, or just have a question that you weren't able to ask me today because of my tight time frame. There's my email address and also my cell number. But we are very privileged to have been asked to present today. You'll also receive a list of references, everything that we use to put the presentation together, some of the sources for the research that I was pooling as well. And I just want to say thank you very much for your time and attention.
Thank you very much, Angela.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Thanks, everybody. Bye now.